Hello people, today I'm going to be talking to you about Frida's mid-70s solo album called Ensam, which means alone. It is my favourite solo album that any of the ABBA members have ever done, really. Agnieszka's Elva Kvinno i ett hus, something like that, was very nice indeed, dear. But this really takes things, I think, to another level. It has one new Bjorn and Benny track on it, and the rest of the album is cover versions of European and UK hits of the day. And I think it's absolutely beautiful. Now, this cover really, I think, says everything to me about the album. If you close your eyes while you're listening to this and just sit quietly and listen, you know, don't do the ironing or anything like that or read a book, just sit and listen to the album and you will actually be transported to this room in your mind, and you will get the acoustic of her of this place. Okay, it's very dark, it's mysterious, it's very sexy. I don't know exactly what Frida is intending to do with those chocolate eclairs and grapes, but I do not think she's intending to eat them. It's just, you know, really, you know, it just exudes sex to die for, really. And as an English speaker, and not a Swedish speaker at all, there's something sort of very exotic and mysterious about the whole album. And before I sort of went and found sort of English translations, in quotes, because like Google Translate, for example, helped with some of this, I would not have had a clue really about what the sentiments of what she was singing about. And there are certain very deceptive songs on here, and we'll actually sort of cover that in some detail. There is an absolute magical musical moment on here, but I'm afraid you're going to have to wait a little while I rant or ramble, as it were, before you get to it. I'm keeping it as a secret for the moment. So yeah, it starts off then with Fernando. Now, Fernando hadn't been released as an ABBA English-speaking single at the time. I don't even think it had actually been written in English at the time. I think it was actually written, a Bjorn and Benny track, specifically for this album. And Stig, I think, wrote the lyrics, or certainly came up with the title. It appears to be about a man who is lost in love. He's playing his guitar, songs in the minor key because he's so sad because he's lost his love. And Frida is saying to him, let's raise a glass and toast to best friends, Fernando, and sing songs of happiness because, you know, you're still alive and you've got your whole life ahead of you and that sort of thing. And basically, I think there was also a little bit of, you know, I have more than a vested interest in you in these lyrics. So yeah, it's not, as Bjorn and Benny later said, that the English Fernando was about two Mexican freedom fighters reminiscing about the old days and the struggles that they had to sort of achieve freedom. A far more political or politically motivated song then for the British market. The backing of Fernando is pretty much the same as the English. The overdubs, though, the backing vocals and the main vocals are not, though. The flute is also different. Not hugely. It's just that you could tell that for the English version they re-recorded the flute again. There's a very obvious edit in the beginning of the Swedish version. You'll hear the differences if you look at my ABBA Anomalies video for Fernando. You'll hear the differences there, and I do talk about them in quite a lot of detail. All right, so then we have Frida's next cover version, which is young girl. I don't really know very much about the English-Swedish lyrics for this one, but Som en sparv, which is track 3, I just think is lovely. It's beautiful. I think it means something like Father Sparrow or something like that. And basically, she is saying how, like a sparrow is, takes its little sort of chicks under its wing, as it were, and looks after them, and then watches them fly away into the adventure that is life and everything, and how you're a bird and you can fly and spread your own wings. This is what she has done to a young lover. That the relationship is now over, and she is watching him scale to new things and greater heights. It's very philosophical and probably a load of old rubbish, Frida, if that's if you're being honest here. You're probably right pissed off, actually, but but never mind. Track 4, I think, is really rather clever. It's now, I can remember being about 3, being taken to sort of a sort of working club that we used to go to quite regularly in the town where I lived, and basically, having like cover versions of this song, "The Most Beautiful Girl," and so when I sort of first heard this album, and I didn't hear it till the sort of early noughties, I thought, oh my God, this is really corny. "The Most Beautiful Girl," I can remember, my nan getting excited about this. My nan was about 80 when she died, and that was like sort of 10 years ago or something. So it's very I thought, how corny is that? But she sings it really well, and when when I found out sort of this is one of those songs, it's a bit like "Ordinary Pain" on Stevie Wonder's "Songs in the Key of Life" album. I made a video about that a couple of years ago as well. Tony Christie sang the English version. Tony Christie's version is basically, if you see a really gorgeous woman and she's all upset and she's crying, it's because I've dumped her. And how sad do I feel that I've dumped her? And I really want her back, and so on and so forth. And it's a sort of going round the houses way of saying, she might be sad, but I'm even sadder. Feel sorry for me, people. And you think, well, actually, you're a bit of a twat, to be honest. But Frida's version is the total opposite. It's the complete other side. Do you want to borrow a man who is the most lazy, womanizing, ignorant tosser, basically? I don't think she'd actually. I don't know what the Swedish for tosser is, and I'm sure Frida doesn't sing it. But basically, it is. Do you want this? You can have him because this is the truth about him, and so yeah, it's a two-sided thing, and you have to know the English to understand the Swedish. You have to know the Swedish to understand the full implication of the English. It's very, very, very well done. Very clever. "Life on Mars," which is track 5, cover of a David Bowie song, and I think probably the most. If you're talking about how faithful the songs are to the originals, this is probably the most faithful. Really, it doesn't necessarily mean that the ones that aren't as similar to the originals are no good, because I think they are, and we'll come on to talk about that in a bit more detail. But "Life on Mars," fantastic, and Frida's voice in absolute full form there. And then we come to what I think is really the downer of the album, which is a song called "Surtaki," which has a really irritating la-la chorus, and I don't really know again what the lyrics are to this. I don't know anything about the original version or anything like that. Just that it sounds to me like lots of sort of, I think it's a Greek song or something, and how they get on the tables and dance when they're basically filled with whatever alcoholic beverages that they get off on, basically. It sounds like a bit of a knees up, really. Do I mean knees up? Probably not. All right, turn it over then to "Aldri May," which is Swedish version of an Italian hit called Vado Via. And the name escapes me of the original person that sang Vado Via in Italian. I actually found it on YouTube. Again, it's not something that I would remember personally. So, you know, please, you know, don't get me down as someone that bought this album in, you know, 1976 or whatever. I didn't. I bought it in 2000 and something or other. But Vado Via then, or Jame, has the most hypnotic loop ever, and this is one of those ones where, you know, as I was saying earlier, you could be completely deceived if you don't know the language. That loop, hey, 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 da 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 dum, da 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 dum da dum. That loop is very, very deceptive because it goes on and on and on and on. By the time that you've got to the end of the song, it is so hypnotic. It is, and it's built up and 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 built up. There's nowhere to go except for it to slow down and finish. All right, and you are lulled by it. If you don't know the language, you think that you might be forgiven for thinking that, you know, this is a song about nice things. But actually, it isn't. It's, you know, it's the sort of thing that I've sort of, you know, I go on about all the time on YouTube, really. This very lullaby-y sort of loopy sort of device, a bit like Imagine, but then hard lyrics on top, which give you the tension. And the tension in this song is basically Frida saying that never again is she ever going to be deceived by a cheating, lying man. And that is, you know, the nub of the song, really. And, yeah, not cheerful at all, but you could be forgiven for thinking so. And her voice is so sexy on this song. The Italian singer, there's a male singer that originally sang this song, I don't think has the slightest sort of, it just doesn't come close to how Frida portrays this song. You know, it's not, this album is not a Joe McElderry style, you know, I do Christmas cover versions and whatever. This you know, the songs have been, you know, taken up to another level, I think, and she's made them her own. In a way that the X Factor or people like that could never do. So next we have Guld och grüna ängar, which is a cover of the 10cc song. The 10cc song, Wall Street Shuffle, is basically about a sort of a left-wing ideological look at you know, the rich people of the day and money and the stock exchange and what have you. This is Gold and Green Leaves. I think it's a sort of romantic song about walking in a forest or something like that. Don't really know. Sorry, Swedish people, if you're slightly insulted by that. Okay. Track 3 on side 2, Et Livi Sulen, Anima Mia, is the I think is another Italian song. A Life in the Sun. The most remarkable thing about this song is that it starts off with Frida singing a cappella. That means, oh, someone's placed a bit on my iMac, sorry. It starts out with Frida singing a cappella, which basically means no instruments, and even with a crackly vinyl, and this is not too bad, this copy isn't, but even with, you can forget that because you're just taken into this space. This space. Here. And you, in your mind, you can just sort of explore it with her. Really, it's just gorgeous. Whatever you're doing at the time, and you know, I said at the beginning, you know, stop doing whatever it is you're doing and listen to the album. But if you do happen to think, right, I've got a shirt that needs ironing for tomorrow, and you've got the iron in your hand, the end of the Wall Street Shuffle, or Guld och grüna ängar, or whatever it happens to be pronounced, and you're ironing away, you listen to this and you will stop dead in your tracks. Whatever it is you're doing, just stop it, because it's just absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Sorry, I'm sounding rather loopy, aren't I, really? But never mind. Wouldn't It Be Nice is track 4 of this album, of side 2, and it's, again, you know, it's the Beach Boys song brought up to date for the mid-70s. That sort of shuffle beat, which characterised the sort of early 70s sort of glam rock sort of sound, and you know, everything from the Wombles to all those Christmas hits like We Wish, what am I talking about? Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day, and you know, the Slade song, whatever that one was, Merry Christmas Everybody, and all that sort of junka 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 junka. Because they were Swedish musicians, and by and large, lots of members of ABBA's backing band played on this album. It's sort of done in their own way, and Benny is, you know, steeped in folk and classical music and whatever, and so, you know, his arrangement will be very Benny-ish, you know, and have his characteristics stamped over it. But basically, it is a variant of that sort of glam rock shuffle, and it's very, very good. The falsettos on here, which, you know, Frida could never be the Beach Boys, but, you know, for a start, you know, it's female, and, you know, the whole characteristic of the Beach Boy sound was that it was males singing right in their falsetto at the tops of their voices, and so you know, you've got to sort of make the mental leap here, but it's superbly done, and I just think, you know, that she's done that song. She's brought that to a new, greater level. And finally, the magical musical moment, Send in the Clowns. Basically, the Stephen Sondheim song. I don't think lyrically there's been very much done to it. Now, I actually once played these side by side. The original version. Again, her name escapes me. It's Judy someone. Judy Collins. I think it's Judy Collins, something like that. Yeah, Judy Collins. I once played her version of Frida's side by side, and the actual arrangements are not different at all, really. Just basically a piano, an oboe, a few strings, and a gorgeous acoustic. Judy Collins' one has, you know, a nice acoustic. It's much closer to you. Frida's is the piano and the instruments are sort of in this space, and Frida is right up close to you, and so you therefore have room to sort of walk round that space and explore it with her, and she is just really just pouring her heart out, and it's so lovely. And when it ends, it leaves you absolutely bereft and totally breathless. Which is why, again, a bit like the Abbey Road thing, you don't need a CD reissue from 2000 and whenever, 2005 I think it was, to sort of put a couple of songs on there from, you know, other singles that predate this time. They're fine, good singles, whatever, but, you know, stick them on another DVD or something, you know, or another CD or something like that, because this album was conceived to end with Send in the Clowns and to leave you in the way that I've just described, and anything else after that just totally spoils it. I don't even think, you know, that, you know, once you've played that album, go to bed, you know, or do something completely different, because, you know, to put anything on after that it just completely sort of spoils the mood, really. And you know, you might think, well, you know, the man's a lunatic. What is he talking about? But, you know, they never conceived these albums to be things that, you know, the songs weren't scribbled down on a beer mat and then, you know, we'll just chuck them up in the air and just, you know, we'll put them on in whatever order that they happen to fall down in. You know, they were very, very carefully crafted. And I think in some ways, a lot of the reissues and things don't actually respect the original crafting of, you know, how these things were conceived in the first place. You know, it's a bit like Sergeant Pepper. If you play Sergeant Pepper in any kind of different order to what it's in now, it's, you know, it's just a total travesty. And, you know, so I think bonus tracks on the end of this is a travesty, really. Listen to it in the form it's intended. The mastering of the CD isn't too bad. It's a bit loud and sword. You do lose a little bit of this acoustic that I was talking about, this sense of actually being present with Frida while she's singing. And the vinyl retains it, you know, much better, you know. And that moment where you just stop totally dead in your tracks at the beginning of Et Levi Sulen, which, you know, could be a magical musical moment if you know, swings and roundabouts, really. You know, it's just, you know, you just don't get it quite so much with the CD. Anyway, that's enough of me rambling. I've probably gone on far too long, and I'll leave you here. Bye.